Storm Amy has come and gone, but not without some disruption. Connacht and Ulster remain unbeaten. That's by default. Leinster remain winless, but they did improve. So there's much to discuss. Let's get going. Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Intro Show, your home for all things Irish rugby from across the professional and amateur, men's and women's game in the country. And as you can see, the Irish Rugby ABCD has reconvened. We've staved off the storm in order to record. And to be quite honest, the weather hasn't exactly improved. But look, it is what it is. Gentlemen, it's great to have you back. David, firstly, it's great to have you back from. Would you mind telling our listeners or viewers, were you or were you not in Cape Town?
I was not in Cape Town. I did price it out. It turns out it's a long way away from Dublin, so I settled for sunny South Portugal instead. But it's still on the bucket list. I will make it down there sometime. Um, but no, I unfortunately wasn't in Cape Town this time. If I was, you probably would have been able to hear the screaming through the television.
Were
So.
were you, were you checking out the place where Ireland go? Were you checking it from?
Yeah, I was exactly. I was down on our training pitch to figure out why the Portuguese can play such lovely rugby when they have very little to build off of. I feel like if we could take whatever it is that they've got going on and apply it to teams that have resources, then we'd be onto a winner.
Yeah, fair enough.
Absolutely. And Ben and Adam, you're both on with us last week. But Adam, Ulster didn't play at the weekend, so did you find something to do over the week, or did you just sit there and wait for us to record?
I'm just sat here waiting for a record. I know I have a lot of planning to do now that I'm a trainee, well, apprentice teacher, so I had a lot of planning to do, so it's fine. And I watched the Zebra game as well. I was allowed to watch a Zebra game this week,
Well,
so enjoyed
I'm
it.
not going to focus on the word allowed, but we may get into that another
I
time.
know, I'm joking.
Ben, I know you watch plenty of rugby and plenty of other sports as well. It was, I know we don't do URC chat, but it was a really fun weekend of URC. Like, I know it was only 6 games or whatever, but geez, like a couple of big results there.
It was a great weekend. Um, Look, it would have been nice to have had. I think Ulster Edinburgh had the potential to be an absolute cracker of a game that had gone ahead. But like for me, and I say to someone who wasn't home park, Zebra Lions on the games of the weekend. It's an absolute cracker of a game. Um, and it also made Sunday pass a little bit better after sitting on Saturday and watching both Loftus and having my heart out to here inside in Thomond Park for 80 minutes, which we will get into. But no, really good weekend. I think United Rugby Rewind. Adam Hattip went over it quite well the start of the week, and yeah, not a lot to hate.
And before we move on, I think one of the reasons that you're in new attire this week is not necessarily because of my influencer culture, but because it was so cold in Thomond Park on Saturday, it implored you to go and buy the fleece. Is that correct, or is it more that you stave to the capitalistic influencer culture that is 2025?
Considering I don't know what TikTok is, I don't think I can normally say I'm a capitalist. But no, Thomond Park was levels of cold. And for anyone who hasn't bought this hoodie, please get it in Elbreeze. It is the warmest thing I own. It is so
If
warm.
it has your size remaining, because they are flying off the shelves. Hashtag release the fleece has become hashtag restock the fleece, which is really amazing.
We'll just put a tracker on the Twitter of just like Elbreeze and just tag him every day and say, please add more, thanks.
Yeah, no, definitely. But gentlemen, we have only 2 games to discuss, which means we will have a little bit more on AIL, and we also have a special game to come at the end of the show, which Adam is going to be Quizmaster General of, and I am going to defeat Ben and David in the process. But before we get into all that, we are going to start with Loftus, and a weird one. It was a thriller. It is our game of the week between the Bulls and Leinster in the URC final rematch. The Bulls get revenge, but also a really weird game. And we might start on that one, David, because the Bulls, to me, to my viewing, I thought they didn't get anything that Leinster didn't give them. They played large percentages of that game without the ball, so kind of mitigating the whole altitude factor of, keep running and keep making a team defend. Leinster come away with 1 point. It's not ideal, but did you get that vibe as well? There was a bit of a strange game in how it unfolded.
Yeah, it was kind of odd. I mean, look, the bottom line was it was such a massive improvement on what Leinster did last week. It was hard not to be happy. Just when Sam Prendergast knocked the first 3 points over the bar, I think there was a definite sigh of relief just to have that spell that was very temporarily and catastrophically cast lifted. But yeah, no, I mean, look, the obvious examples of what Leinster gave the Bulls are in that unfortunate last intercept try from away with Sam Prendergast's pass. But it was more than that. It was there. There was space in the play pitch that Leinster gave up that they really shouldn't have. I thought is it de Klerk, the Bulls winger, was having a field day with some of the gaps he was able to run into, and I think it's probably on a day that was quite a positive thing for Leinster in terms of the scoreline they were able to get to run up, and the fact that they were able to get back in the lead at the start of the second half. I think they'd be very frustrated by the the way defense has gone this season already. And we're only two games in, but I mentioned just before the show started that numbers wise, Leinster have conceded in these first two games 30% of the points they conceded in the entirety of the last URC season, which is fairly staggering when you think about it. So, there's definitely still a lot to work on there. That's going to be a major source of frustration. It's going to put pressure on us if we have to keep outscoring teams rather than being able to defend, particularly given Jack Nienaber's there, and it's something he's prided himself on. It's something that we felt like we built on so much last season. It's going to be very frustrating that it still seems like throughout this game in particular, it seems like it's very easy to get around Leinster. The concession in the last season was that we had our blitz defense. We were running the kind of box style system where you rush up, you shut down passing channels, and you stop players either at the gain line or 10 feet before it. But we didn't really have that in these first two games. The defense was better in this game than it was against the Stormers, but it still wasn't. It still wasn't like suffocating, and yet still we have the space out on the wings, almost as if we still have the mindset of that blitz without having the effect of it, and so we're still suffering from the weaknesses of it. But the ease with which the Bulls were able to get around Leinster will definitely be a major source of frustration. That being said, there was a lot of positives, like Tommy O'Brien, one of the few bright sparks last week, continued to be a bright spark this week. Took his try well, competed in the air. He competed in the air a lot last week, just unsuccessfully. The Stormers seemed to get the rubber the green every time there was a 50-50 ball up, but he seemed much more dominant there this week. Andrew Osborne, actually, in the left wing, similarly competed well. I think the inclusion of Max Deegan, that was actually a player who didn't start last week, who I really felt in the absence of some of the other leaders in the squad. Luke McGrath's a great captain. I like Luke McGrath a lot, but he's a captain because of his seniority more than anything else. His best days are definitely behind him. But I felt like someone like Max Deegan, who can take charge and lead from the front, was the kind of player that Leinster wanted. And he had a great run up the right wing where he charges through a gap. I think a Bulls player grabs a hold of his jersey and he just keeps going and gets an offload away as he's powering forward. So, I think there were players who definitely stepped up, and 50-50 shots that didn't go Leinster's way last week did go their way this week. It'd just be a major source of frustration that we came into the game at 45 minutes, we took the lead. We showed that we were able to continue to score tries, but I think that the try just before half time and then that last intercept try, I think those will just be really frustrating because again, they were things that we gave to the Bulls. They weren't necessarily things that they earned, and it cost us. It cost us possibly the game, but certainly a losing bonus point. I think Sam Prendergast had a much improved first 60 to 70 minutes and a very poor last 10 minutes. Unfortunately, that definitely did cost Leinster match points, and I think he'll look at the penalty he missed, the drop goal he missed, and then the final penalty he missed as well, and kind of say, there's work-ons for me specifically here. So overall, a very improved performance. Very happy to get on the board with the 1 point. Unfortunately, in a loss, we still haven't done anything about that points difference. But I think in terms of an improvement on the Stormers, it is a big one. And while I don't think they'll be happy to get out of South Africa with only 1 point, they'll be happy not to have taken another beating like they did in Cape Town, because I think that just wouldn't have been a good way to start the season at all.
No, that's absolutely the case. And like we spoke about last week about how Leinster were a little bit more interesting. I think this game became more interesting as account of the fact that they got, well beaten last week, but they did bounce back well, absolutely. And Adam, that's kind of important that It didn't become, I think, yes, 1 from 10 is a poor start by Leinster standards, absolutely, regardless of who they're playing. But one is definitely better than zero. And to get that four try bonus is definitely something to take away because David mentioned it, we mentioned it a week before. Their attack just was not up to scratch against the Stormers, where it actually looked a little bit more clinical this time.
Yeah, it looks sort of like what we expect Leinster to play. Their attack was way more clinical. And getting that point's probably it's gonna be vital in the long run, possibly. We know how important bonus points are in this league, especially with two losses in the start of the season. I think this Leinster will probably look back on this tour as a good way of building their squad, and certainly with their young props as well. Having Paddy McCarthy and Gus McCarthy and Tom Clarkson all like getting that experience in Loftus Road, Loftus Field as well. I think they did. I think they played a lot better against the opposition in the Bulls. I think that as well that you know, we say a lot about what happened in the last 10 minutes with Prendergast, but yeah, it's really interesting. I feel like sort of the tiredness is getting to him as well. Like it is very difficult playing in South Africa, especially for the as long as he did. But yeah, I find it very interesting. What we're going to see from Leinster. This is the reply that we sort of expected. We didn't necessarily expect, well, I didn't expect a win necessarily, but to score 31 points in South Africa is no mean feat, and it is a better way of seeing it for Leinster, as a way to springboard what has been a pretty shaky start to the season.
Yeah, no, definitely. And like, Ben, it kind of tees up this weekend quite nicely because the Sharks probably could not have had a worse result while also getting a result last week. And Leinster, arguably on the flip side, could not have had a worse result from their efforts insofar as they only came away with one, as opposed to even two or three or 5 points. So it tees up this weekend nicely. I know we'll touch on that a little bit more later. But kind of for you, just to see Leinster look more like Leinster again before the internationals and the Lions come back. Sorry, not internationals. This is a team with 13 internationals, what I'm saying. Before the Lions players come back in, that's important for them. And like I don't think anyone here would be surprised if they win their next 4 games before December.
No, like look, as much as I don't like saying it, Leinster looked very, very good on Saturday. Their pack stood up, especially I believe Will Connors got the yellow. After the yellow, that was the defensive set that we'd seen Leinster do all of last season. Board, Soraka, Baird, Soraka, Deeney, Deegan all stepped up, all made tackles that they weren't making the week before. The entire pack looked exactly what a new forward defense should look like for those 10 minutes and for the 10 minutes after.
Just to put in there, I think you may have had a Freudian slip. I think you mean Nina Bar.
Neil Bar. So sorry, I don't know who is that. My apologies.
What is the four I would have wanted?
What news for? Look, news for is always on my mind. What can I say? I'm wearing a Zubby hoodie and
Take away the
everything.
Nina Bar and add in Humphreys instead, and that would be way funnier. But
Exactly.
anyways,
But no, they were genuinely excellent. If I'm to make a slight criticism of them, their substitutions were a little bit weird. Giving Prendergast 80 minutes at Loftus, having done as long as he did the week before, the man was out on his feet. Um, as much as I'd love to rail on him for throwing that pass at the end, he gave everything for 75 minutes of that game. You have Frawley on the bench. You you're Frawley. You can bring in Finton Gunn if you really need. He didn't need to do 80. I thought he was excellent. I really do. We'll get onto it again later, but you'd nearly go half of that team again, if not two-thirds of that team again, and you'd expect them to get a BP past the Sharks relatively handy.
Yeah.
Ideally, Sam gets a week off because I expect they'll want him to play in the Clash of Croker or whatever title Leinster have given it at this point. Um, but like again, he looked shattered. People, and I've seen people online doing comments I would usually make, but no, like again, I think Dave pretty much nailed it on the head. Leinster were very, very good getting one bonus point out of it. While it will hurt, not a lot of teams go to Loft doesn't get anything.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, no, and that's important. And like the Bulls obviously had a lot to play for. I understand round 2 of the new season does not compare to a final, but the way the Bulls went into that game and they were talking themselves up because they had to, because there was so much in that background about like players weren't talking to coaches, coaching staff weren't talking amongst themselves. They had to come out and convince themselves that they could do it, and then they just laid an egg in the final. They were really, really poor. So for them, it was important. But I do think, and I don't want this to become a weekly bit. I kind of issued a buyer beware on Ulster last week, where I said it was just the Dragons. We've seen Ulster steamroll teams like this before. The Bulls didn't convince me. The Bulls should not have won that game. Pretoria seems to be becoming less and less of a factor as the seasons go on. It's still an unbelievably tough place to go. I'm not saying otherwise. And yes, they had internationals away, but I'm just not convinced they're as rounded of a team as they were mid last season, season before that. And that would be me. Whereas I look at that Leinster performance and I said, you know what? You were absolutely terrible in round one, but you should have got 5 points last time out. And yes, it was fatigue. And yes, I look at that Prendergast pass. It was never on, but he was out in his feet. Another part of the reason I may have been, and I'm not an S&C expert, I'm also not a rugby expert. I know, I like to think I know a good bit, but this is based on what I watched. And I watched this game in its entirety. Leinster played more off 10 than they do usually. Usually when it's Gibson Park's team. They play off 9. He dictates everything. So there is the physical exhaustion as well as the mental exhaustion, and then just the long week for Sam and Co. And I do think that was a factor. They played an awful lot more off 10. They had an awful lot more of the ball. Like it wasn't. That's where I said it was really weird because for me, when you look at the stats, if you run through that stats page, that looks like Leinster hocking a team in the RDS. I don't, sorry, the RDS is closed at the moment. In the Viva, whatever.
It's been a long week for
Not
us all.
Leinster going to Pretoria and having to play a certain type of way. The teams have to play a certain type of way to win in Pretoria because of the air and whatever. So to that, I give them massive credit, and to that, I think that's where the context lies. But to kind of give you the closing word, David, because you weren't on here last week, you were flying to Cape Town but got stuck in Portugal. Um, you, I just want you to kind of give us your thoughts on the 2 weeks as a whole and as a block. Not ideal. I went looking into it. I think the closest worst start from a URC team in the last couple of years was Connacht went 1 point from their first two games as well, a couple of seasons, or 1 point from their first three, possibly, a couple of seasons prior. It's not really been a case. Irish teams have been fast starters. They have the depth. That part is all disappointing. But as I said to Ben, and I say it to you, where did Leinster lose again? Do you know, like that's the question. So is that the kind of attitude that you're taking into it, or do you still think there's a very serious need to look at some of these performances, given the quality that was on the field, and more so round one? I might add because you weren't here last week.
Yeah, yeah, I do. I think there's a lot to it really. So I think it's a confluence of factors. I think it was not last season, 2 seasons ago. We started in Glasgow, got hockeyed there too, by a very good Glasgow team, but then came back and won the next week. Um, we had, I think it was Edinburgh away last year, got a strong start there. So I think in as many situations it can be where the fixtures happen to be in those first weeks, and the fact that we had both in South Africa, like Leinster on balance over the course of the URC tend to lose both of the games in South Africa when they go down there. So that's not really that unusual. I think the frustration will definitely be that this is probably the strongest non-knockout team that Leinster have sent down to South Africa, and to not come away with anything like we've come away with wins before, out of much caliber teams. So to not come to only come away with the 1 point after as you said yourself, there are 13 internationals in that team. I looking back at the team sheet against Stormers, and you go, that's a really good team. Like you couldn't put that team out there and think, oh, we're just missing too many players. There are loads of players we don't have in, but most teams would look at that team sheet and go, that's a team that we're going to have to take very seriously. Like, I don't think the personnel you can't on one side say Leicester have great depth and then go, oh, but we just didn't have the personnel on the day. We did have the personnel on the day. We had the players. Our bench depth might have not have been super deep, but it wasn't the bench that lost us either of those games. Except I think, as Ben said, I do think there'll have to be some conversation about why Sam Prendergast is over there for that long. Kieran Frawley doesn't seem to be trusted by Leo Cullen at 10. I'm not sure why. He's had his ups and downs at 10 for sure, but like I think when you're balancing it against leaving someone like leaving Sam on the pitch for 80 minutes, in Pretoria. I think that should be an easy call to make. I also, don't know why Harry Byrne, who was brought back, wasn't available to be deployed. Like, there's loads of questions, and maybe there's answers to those, but I think there do need to be answers asked internally for why that happened. I'll commend Cullen for making the changes he did between week 1 and 2 because it produced a response, and it produced a sort of step up. I think a lot of it actually goes back to the fact that Leinster had one preseason game against Cardiff in Tala, and that was it. And I think there's maybe a conversation to be had about, was that not enough? Did these guys come in a bit? Because definitely the Stormers game had a look of a team that didn't know each other, and I think possibly, um, I think allusions were made on. I think it was the 42 by Gav Casey that some very strong teams have come into the start of seasons quite slow to give themselves longevity, and maybe that's what Leinster are planning on doing. But I don't know. I felt like they definitely came in undercooked, and the Stormers game looked like another preseason game. Except it obviously wasn't for the Stormers, so you ended up with the result that we did. I think in the totality of the thing, it'll be a disappointment, but it'll be a disappointment to look back on because even the second week was such a step up in terms of performances that if Leinster played that game again next week, I think they'd have a really good chance of winning it. In as much as they had a really good chance of winning it this week, they probably will go and they should go and beat the Sharks next week. I'll be there for that one, so I hope to God they win it. I don't think Croke Park is as done a deal as some people think it is. Munster have looked very good, excuse me, very good at the start of this season. Jack Crowley in particular at 10 has looked very good. I definitely hope Sam Prendergast is playing for that game because I think Irish rugby needs those two to face off head to head. There's a conversation to be had about Ireland selection further down the road, but we won't have it now. But like, if you're going off the way the two are playing, you want to see the two of them face off because that's definitely a question now. And then, yeah, there'll be more fixtures. So I don't think I think coming out of last week's game, I had concerns that I was like, no, it's just one game, leave it. Coming out of this game, I'm like, okay, it was just one game. We didn't win this, but at least it was a step up in terms of performance. There's still a lot to work on. I think the defense is something they're going to really need to look at. The attack, at least they seem to know how to do it again. I'll be very interested to see how the Lions players reintegrate because it is weird to think that they had these two games with these two fairly strong 23s, and there's still, what, 12 13 players, if you include JD Osborne, to come back in who would be considered their frontline players. So how those players slot back in, how much they actually play the URC, that's the other thing. Loads of those players don't play a lot of URC games. That's not usually the way Leinster do things. So how they're reintegrated and how much focus is put on that will be interesting because as much as those guys don't play URC, Leinster are 15th and the only team they're ahead of in the table are a team who didn't play last weekend. So it very rapidly becomes a game of, yeah, we probably should be winning all of our games, but we actually have to start doing that at some point, or we're not gonna move. And every week we don't is a week that the Bulls or the Stormers or Munster or Zebra win another game and stay in the top four, and we stay further away from it. So I'll be interested to see. I think we could see a lot more players drafted in next week, even for the Sharks, and I think it'll be a very strong team that goes out against Munster in round four. And I think myself and everybody else are really looking forward to seeing that because it's been odd to watch Leinster play what are probably two of the worst games they've played in the last, I don't know how many years, in the last 2 weeks.
Like I do think it's a credit to Leinster, like to get that to go with a quote unquote rotated team down to Loftus, come away with a losing bonus point. Um, be within be within two kicks of actually winning down in Loftus. Not lose, but try
Yeah.
bonus point, sorry. And be within two kicks of getting significantly more out of it. You'd think if Frawley or God forbid Harry Burns started 10, probably win that game. Or even come on with 20 minutes to go, probably win that game. Leinster Pack was superb again. Um, yeah, like there's, as you say, David, there's what, 13 players to come back in, 12 players to come back in. It only goes up from here. 15th is fun to look at. You'll be second within 3 weeks,
Oh, they will. Like that's the thing.
unfortunately.
Leinster will definitely be. If Leinster aren't second or first by the time we hit the November window, I think we can have a very serious conversation then because they'll have probably dropped a game on a very favourable run of fixtures. I don't see it happening. I don't see them losing in Croke Park. I don't see them losing this week. And then they have like Zebra Dragons after that or something in around that realm of fixtures. They definitely have Dragons anyways. They have two favourable enough games. But I'm going to throw a curveball at you because this was asked by Mohammed of the United Rewind pod. of fan experience. And the reason I'm thinking of it, kind of because of your background, David, and the fact you brought up the Crow Park game, Crow Park is an unbelievable venue. Anyone who says otherwise, this isn't the podcast for you. We all love it here. It's not custom made for rugby, but it's an unbelievable venue. But ticket sales are not going as we would have liked for this one. I think typically, and I mean this with respect to my colleagues who work in the media, I think you'll get some pretty lame excuses for why. Over the next couple of weeks, like things like, are the Munster fans not travelling? Or is it Crow Park fatigue? Or whatever else. I don't think it's anything like that. But Ben, because your NFL question came up the other day about fan experience, you look at a game like that, right? It's an Interpro. They cost a huge amount of money. Interpros are the most expensive regular season games for provincial fans to go to. This one is in Crow Park, right? Is it high time that we change the fan experience of games like these? And I look at Judgment Day as a great example of why, if we're going to open up Crow Park for an Interpro, why can't it be Leinster, Munster, Connacht, Ulster, or Munster, Ulster, Connacht, Leinster, or something? Do something. Because personally, I don't think we can keep looking at just the attendance and just blaming Province A or Province B when we've never innovated on these games, despite the fact they're the biggest seller outside of Europe in the league. What would you like to see? Because like 40,000 in Croke Park can feel hollow. We've seen all our finals in COVID years with 40,000. It feels quite hollow. What would you like to see? It will be more, I should say. It will be
Like
more. It'll probably end up hitting 60. What would you like to see to just kind of reinvent this if Croke Park becomes a yearly thing?
if Crow Park is your thing, like what none of us want to say, and you're right, is the lower tier full, a part of the Hogan open, and then the rest of it just empty. Because Crow Park, 2/3 full, looks horrendous. Like it does. I'm glad you mentioned Judgment Day. I've travelled over to it 3 times now, 2 or 3 times now. It is one of the best day outs you'll have. They run it as an experience. Everyone gets involved. All Welsh rugby comes together, even when they're not in a good day. They do the Cardiff City, they do Principality, and it genuinely is excellent day out. We mentioned it on the women's pod. There's something to be said for doing an Interpro derby beforehand. Like, especially this year, it's a big opportunity missed to not do Munster Leinster or even Connacht Ulster in the women's before we have the Crow Park game. The IRFU have to do something. And even like I say this, tickets went on sale today being Tuesday for Munster Leinster in Thomond Park, and a terrace ticket's touching 50 quid. You can't say pay 50 quid for an Interbro, get your 80 minutes of entertainment, and then leave. They have to do something on top of it to make it a more palatable experience for the casual fan. We're not casual. We will pay whatever money they want. The four of us here will pay extortionate money to go and see Ireland, to go and see Munster, Ulster, Connacht, Leinster. Um, we just will. But again, if we're looking at 50,000, 60,000 in Crow Park and you want them to come back, you have to do something on top of it. We said this in our women's podcast. We'll say it again. Not using the fire that was lit under the game by the Women's Rugby World Cup and putting an Interpro on in Crow Park doesn't sit right with me. Anyway, Judgment Day is the next opportunity. Again, if we take Judgment Day for what it is, I don't know, will either Connacht or Ulster voluntarily give up a home game that is an Interpro, but do anything. Just
Well,
make it
I think
something
to be fair, I
casuals
think
want to
Connacht
see.
would because their ground is so small, they'd probably end up making more money out of it.
Like we
I
saw McHale Park last year was an excellent day out. Connacht did
despite the rain,
everything to make that as well as they should.
yeah,
And I mean, the the will is there. The fans will go to it. It's on the IRFU, it's on Leinster, it's on Munster to make it something people want to go and see every single year.
yeah, and I don't
Dear,
think it is. And again, I think that's where the lazy narratives of like, oh, it's uncompetitive, and that's because of Munster. But like, there is four provinces here. There is a national body. How do we adapt and change and improvise? Because for me, right, Leinster have had one absolute humdinger game in Croke Park. The other one last year was a series of unfortunate events for Munster. Like realistically, a marginal forward pass gets chalked off a couple of minutes after they lose two players to HIAs, and instead of it being like 21-7, they're 20 or sorry, instead of being 14-7 behind, they're 21 5 going into halftime or 21-7 going into halftime. The game's gone, place goes flat. Leinster then go and hammer Harlequins in Croke Park. Like they're not victims of their own success, but how do you sell that again? Do you know, like if they had games like that Northampton one 2 years ago, fair enough, easy sell. But it's just how do we keep selling this game? And I've long believed that Irish rugby has the advantage that it's so easy for us to branch out now because the established areas are established and the up and coming areas are up and coming. So it's about touching into that more. Like we're going to mention in a few weeks, Edward Adogbo returning. He's from Cove. Cove is not a rugby stronghold, for example. The women's game, lots of players from non-traditional rugby areas. But we're going to talk about that and loads more in time. Don't get me wrong. Just a quick reminder, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to the Global Gain here on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. If you're here, we're at 880 subscribers now. The goal is to get to 900 before the weekend. Let's get to 1,000 before the United Rugby Rewind returns. That is the best URC podcast you will find anywhere. Broadcasters, fans, anywhere, it is the best. I know they have Adam, but we'll excuse them that. They have to have a young person on for, quotas and all that. I say that he's only like 24 months younger than me. Um, but do check that out. And I, David, with a little like and subscribe there for anyone on YouTube. That is really, really good. I love that. But we're going to just move on because we have a game and we have AIL to get into. But the other game this weekend, Munster led, as David said, by Jack Crowley, ground out a 23-20 win over Cardiff in a blustery and cold and damp and typical Thomond Park night. Ben, you were there. You were in the East Terrace once more. Not perfect for Munster, and Craig McMillan made that absolutely certain in his post-game press conferences. But there is a time and place to win ugly, and this was probably a time and place less than 24 hours after a storm leaves the area.
Yeah, well, the game was almost fitting for the weather that we had. I don't know if the conditions came across properly in television, but it was a miserable evening down in Thomond Park. The wind was blowing north, south, east, west, southeast, south, north, all game long. It was absolutely horrendous. Wind spitting all day long. And like I would love to sit here and say Munster were excellent, we got to win, but we weren't. We were sloppy. We were dragged over the line by what was an excellent performance by Jack Crowley at 10. Drop goal aside, he genuinely showed everything that makes him the player Munster fans waxing lyrical for 2 years, saying that he is. Our pack properly stood up. I I thought Jaeger was very, very good. Dermot Barron did as well as he could. The loss of Shane Daly really, really hurt us. I don't think that can be said enough, even on a watch back. The the Cardiff winger who got 3 tries, whose name I now forget, Bowen.
Tom Bowen,
Sean
not
O'Brien
not
for all
Danny
the will.
Dyer's nephew.
Sean O'Brien for all the will in the world isn't a winger. Um, he got stung numerous times. He didn't look all that comfortable in the role he was asked to play. He will get there, I'm sure, but he looked he looked not himself. He looked like he'd rather be inside in the center and anywhere but having to try and tackle Bowen. But that being said, I mean, there are certainly more positives and negatives coming out of it. It's gave up two match points, rather not done that. Fine. But again, it's a win. It's 2 wins on the board. Looked dominant in places. I said it last week, but Taki Abrahams again had a stormer of a game. For a man who I criticised, I think on a podcast was you last year, I criticised his defence, that he needs to up that. He was mincing men like he was a back row. He looked superb. Um, Again, look, I thought we handled indisciplined at times. Coombs is yellow. We handled it quite well. Nice of him to get a try mere minutes after coming back on. And look, all the talk this week is going to be about Jack. Jack was excellent. His drop goal was everything that we know we can do. Is it disappointing to give up that try in the 80th minute? Yes, of course it is. Again, bigger and better things. Edinburgh down in Cork Friday night. There isn't a storm coming in that we know of. Get
That
the
we
four
know of.
points out of that and then move on and focus on next week. Focus on
Definitely.
the big one, quote unquote.
Yeah, and just as we have it, I have the Jack Crowley little show and go, which remains on Twitter. That little dink and chase and the Dan Kelly one, whether that was a try is an entirely different question. But they were the moments that Munster were coming up with, and to their credit, Cardiff did as well for large passages this game. But Adam, I suppose As Ben says, yes, there was negatives, and I think some of that would be, goal line defense probably wasn't strong enough. Just never really got into a rhythm. Maybe weren't as settled on a certain game plan as maybe we have seen before in these conditions. You think back to the Ospreys game last year, which was even worse conditions, but got the win. They have a lot of players in that pack who are starting to stand up. Maybe not all together because they're kind of feeding guys back in, but the likes of Jaeger and Klein were exceptional. And obviously Jack Crowley was very good. And we've said before, like in the preview, Munster are probably only as good as Craig Casey can take them. The same kind of applies to Jack Crowley, a little bit different, but still like really, really good showing from him, and especially without Craig Casey there.
Yeah, so yeah, we did say about that about Craig Casey, but then Jack Crowley stood up, and I feel like when you have one or two of them, it just levels the game up for you. I did really think it was a really interesting game that Munster won very well. I did make a point on the United Rugby rewind that Cardiff didn't score any conversions, which I found so interesting, and that if they would have scored their conversions, they would have won. But then again, Jack Crowley only missed two as well, but he made a penalty and a drop goal, so that sort of made up for things for Munster. But yeah, very good win, very solid win. They're sort of building their wins now. You have to win the ugly ones to actually get a foothold in that top eight. That I think that's where provinces last year sort of lacked that sort of edge when it comes to these games. Um, but yeah, you have to win these games to look back on. We do say it, we keep on saying it's round two, but I have to say with the leagues going, with how close the games are, with how many teams are winning in general, picking up these types of wins in round two is going to prove vital for the rest of the season, just like the losing bonus point that Leinster have.
Yeah, no, it absolutely will. And like David, I don't know how much of this one you caught. I know you referenced Crowley earlier in Munster's win, but like we can get caught into this cycle of just discussing the tens, and I don't want to do this in this podcast. So we'll kind of steer away from that. I know it was touched on the URC podcast with how good Crowley was, but I think a bigger talking point is that Munster back row with Ahern, Quinn, and Coombs and how well they all played together. And it's a weird one because Munster's pack looked to be losing collisions, being bullied a little bit. But the second half, you couldn't really have that. Like, that was more of a first half complaint. And I think individually, those three lads all had very tidy games. Ahern, one thing that has probably been said is he's probably not the most aggressive player around the park. Does his job, gets through a mountain of work, but he was aggressive. Coombs was coming up big with carries. Quinn got his score and was looking really tidy. Was unlucky not to have a couple of jackal turnovers. And considering John Hodnett is out and Alex Kendellen is out injured, and obviously there's the retirement of Peter O'Mahony, to have those three, a new look back row that have never started together before, playing as well as they did, that's one of the takeaways that's going to impress Clayton McMillan.
Oh, for sure. Like I think, yeah, you can always add to the performance of a group of players by noting who wasn't there and how much you didn't necessarily miss them. And um, that's definitely the case with this back row, you know. Yeah, the loss of Peter O'Mahony is a shadow that's going to loom large for a long time, as is appropriate given the man's stature. But Tom Ahern, I think we've wanted him to be class for a while, and injury has just been his Achilles heel for a while. So if he can get a straight run of games in front of him, that six shirt at Munster and beyond is there to be fought for. There's going to be a lot of competition for it, but he's definitely shown that he's in that competition for sure. Um, Quinn, young lad, but definitely didn't look at a place. Held his own, did very well, did very tidy. Yeah, as you said yourself, probably unlucky with a couple of those decisions. They're always kind of on the edge anyway. But I thought Coombs, like, for someone who I've given a bit of stick to in the past, the way he took his try, like. You can see the way he gets close to the line. I was watching the game back, knowing already that he had scored it. And I was watching it going, how exactly does he get over the line here? He seems a bit far back and he's already gone to ground. And he just didn't go to ground. I think he stuck the South Africans have a thing for where he sticks his arm on the ground and propels himself forward. Like the strength required to do something like that and to still get across the line. It's something that I've seen other teams lack, other provinces lack, Ireland lack sometimes, where it's really frustrating to get that close to the line get over it and get held up, or not quite get the ball, or get the ball, lock on, or not get the ball down, because you've done all the effort and then just had it go right at the last minute. That doesn't seem to tend to happen with Gavin Coombs. If he gets that close, he's going to score. And yeah, I make my fair share of jokes about 5 meter wonder, but at the same time, there's loads of people who can score from 5 meters. The metronomic fashion with which he does it is impressive, and I think he's even narrowing in on some of the backs who've just departed. He's narrowing in on their try scoring records already. So, yeah, I thought that those three were very, very tidy in a what was a game for the forwards. You just said you didn't want to go into the tens, and I won't go into it, but like, credit to Crowley, like, you could see from the general kicking off the tee that the weather in Limerick was not fantastic, but the way he took that drop goal, the time he took it at, the decision making behind that was impressive, and I think that kind of level of um, game management and decision making, and just steel to do it, to make the call and to execute it like that there's a lot. That's the kind of thing you want from a player in that position. So I think Munster, two from two. It was interesting that Cardiff, I think they'll be ones to watch. The fact that they didn't get the winner of this game, but they got 4 tries, and that's no mean feat. So, you couple that with their performance against Leinster in the preseason, and like, they've been a messy team to play for a while now. So I think they'll be ones to watch going forward. But no, I think Munster should be pretty happy to come out of that game, with the result they did, and I think it did, again, as we said in the back row. You note the people who weren't there by how you missed them because of how much the guys who were there stood up. It did show how much Munster rely on Kirk Casey, and possibly what he might end up offering in Green, because he's such a huge part of that team that I think they'll be really eager to get him back. I think he is due to be back soon. So, as much as I'd said earlier that I want Jack Hurley and Sam Prendergast to face off in Croke Park, I definitely want him there that day, because he's the kind of player who you want playing in that kind of game.
And Ben, we'll come back to the Edinburgh game at the end, but that one does feel like not a huge fixture for Munster. But I think if you go to Croke Park with 3 wins under your belt, and then you've got two Interpros coming in, like, the Interpros are a life of their own. Like, we know that Connacht are well capable of going down to Limerick and winning. So there is that as well. But I just want to get onto AIL chat because we have Adam's game to get into before we get into previews at the end of the show. Just really quickly on that, in the women's AIL, there was a repeat of last year's final, but this time a much more one-sided result as UL Bows took on Railway, and the champions of last year running at 44-17 victors. Not Anna, Alana McInerney with a hat trick. Katrina Finn, excellent at fullback. I'm not sure if she's ever played there before, but she was unbelievable. Elsewhere, Black Rock beat Belleville. I've that down as 27-7. I'm not 100% sure if that's correct. But 27-7, helped by tries from Ireland internationals Maeve Deely and Maeve O'Leary. Would be great to see the latter back in Ireland contention at some stage as well. In Division 1A of the men's league, Corkon trashed Turnour, I should say, 42-14, while Clontarf defeated Lansdowne 20-17 at Castle Avenue. 1B saw Highfield take a scalp off Black Rock in Dublin as Instonians remain top. 2AC's Barnhall and Dungannon lead the way, with the latter pipping Corinthians at home in what's sure to be a big result. While there was wins for Galwegian, Sligo and UL both see them tied at the top of 2B. And finally in Division 2C, newly promoted Thomond are top on 10 points following their win over Ballyclare. Ben, just on that, like, big results there for Tarf, who are going to be a favourite. Cork are going to be a favourite. Highfield to go to Blackrock and get their win without James Cronin as well is a huge one. I know your own UL Bows, but I think the result of the week has to be your own UL Bows in the women's taking on Railway. Like, there's been a lot of talk by people in that neck of the woods about, well, Bows are winning AILs and Munsters are winning in Interpros, and it's probably not reflected, but results like that are going to help. And the likes of Katrina Finn has played 12 for Munster, has played 10 for Munster, has now played 15 for Bows, and has played brilliantly across all three. Like, just fair to say that a lot of players are putting their hand up for Ireland selection, isn't it?
Yeah, and like, I'm so glad you mentioned Bowes. They were genuinely excellent. Katrina Finn, Eilish Cahill hasn't got enough praise for the game she had as well. She was genuinely superb on Saturday.
Last year's player of the
Chloe
season, we should add.
Chloe Pierce again doing Chloe Pierce things. I was kind of bouncing between that and the unfortunate result out in Tom Clifford on Saturday evening, where Mary's were outstanding against Bowes, unfortunately. Um, Highfield look like they're going to be an absolute menace this season. They look absolute top drawer. Um, it's starting to be a really exciting league, both men's and women's across the AIL. I said this 2 weeks ago. I'll say it again next week. Anyone, if your provincial team isn't at home and you don't have Premier Sport, go find your local AIL game. You will not see better rugby anywhere. Um, yeah, it's a stunning league. Really is.
And on that note, we're going to hand it over to Adam, who is not much of a presenter, but he is a teacher. So he's well able to give out to us if we start misbehaving. Adam, this is a game that we're going to call Do you remember Adam? It's a bit of a streets one forget, but we'll see how it goes. You're trying to share your screen. Is it?
Hold on.
We're having a little bit technical difficulties for anyone there on the audio, but there we go.
I do
Hello.
like how
Remember
David's cap
Adam
has
is
entered into
up
game
and
mode.
I am screen sharing. Can we see
and
this
it's
okay?
yeah, no, that's fine. We can see it. So the premise of this is myself, David, and Ben are going to face off to kill a bit of time on players that we may have forgotten. Adam, I hope you have clues because I know you, and there's going to be a couple of one cap wonders in there.
I,
So do you want to
I,
take the reins?
I think I went a bit easy with this one, to be perfectly honest, because I was afraid of because I sent in one of Chris Cochrane and he only had two caps for Ulster. So we're gonna start with the first one. This one,
Just really quickly, I think it's fair to say, would we just do quiz show and whoever shouts first say their name?
Because also, based
yeah,
on the last time me and David tried to do this, it went real
I,
badly.
Yeah,
I,
well,
So
I, I
yes.
accept, I accept hands up, guys.
watch as the green
That's
screen effect
just
just
me
like doesn't show our
practicing.
hands. Anyways, Adam, the floor is yours.
Right, the floor is mine. So this is do you remember Adam? I am known for knowing my obscure rugby players. So I went deep into the knowledge, deep into Wikipedia, to be honest with you, for some of them. And some of them I do are like, oh yeah, I remember them. This is the first one. And we will go into the first one now.
Oh, for anyone on audio, it's an Ulster player who wore a scrum cap and looks like a back.
Oh.
Oh, have you got any clues for us, Adam?
He moved to Edinburgh to try and have a career in Scotland, but it didn't quite work out.
Is it Simon Daniele?
No, Simon Daniele
Good
had
shout.
Simon Daniele did have Scotland caps before he went to Ulster.
That's true. He was a very good player, actually. I'm stumped. That era of Ulster is not great in my memory, even though they were very good. Ben, David,
I mean, this players. No, I got nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Ulster man with nice scrum cap.
He
would we
didn't wear
pass?
so to be fair, I couldn't he didn't necessarily wear a scrum cap when he was playing. This is the best photo I found of him. But it is Ulster winger and Ulster and Edinburgh winger Mike Allen. If you
Ah,
remember.
No, it's
that's
not,
not
is
me.
it?
It's Mike Allen. It is, yeah.
How young is he in that picture?
Quite because I think this was the season before he went to Edinburgh because he tried to do a Ben Healy. He was Ben Healy before Ben Healy,
Went about
essentially.
as well, did it?
So the first ones just went that bit nicer now. Next one.
Oh,
Oh,
oh, I know this.
My my clue might give it away.
Is it Niall O'Connor?
It's Niall O'Connor. Yes.
Yes! Rory's best friend.
Yeah.
Is
This
that
was
the
Niall
clue?
O'Connor when he played for Connacht in between Ulster spells, and then he went off to Jersey. But he did very well. He scored 86 points in 15 outings. There we go.
I was going to say, when did he play in Thomond Park?
That looks like
Or is it Musgrave? Not
2012-ish.
Thomond.
Yeah, I think it is 2012. It's that like classic Mazda shirt.
Yeah, that was one of their better
Next,
ones, to be honest. I'm pretty sure he has a DP World Tour win as a caddy as well.
yeah,
Double
I
check.
think he does. Yeah. Next one surprised me, and I do remember him playing, but this is the next one.
I know it. Andrew Goodman.
Yeah, Andrew Goodman.
Yeah.
Well done. Yeah.
Andrew Goodman.
I just wanted to see if the lads would get in there first. So I don't want to win all of these.
Oh,
Andrew Goodman played for
shit.
Leinster. Won a Amlin Challenge Cup with them. Won the Pro 12, I think. David?
Sure.
They won a Pro 12 year, won the Amlin, didn't they? I think
2015?
2013.
2013, yeah.
2013 we won now.
That might have been the year after you won it against us in the RDS.
Oh, it was 2013 was. I don't know if Ben is frozen for anyone else, but he's
Yeah,
frozen for
Ben's
me.
Ben's Ben's a robot.
The game, the game. Do you remember Adams broken Ben's intro?
We'll let Ben come back on. Do you want to go on to the? Is the
Yes.
next one's probably a Munster man though, is it?
Next one, it is. It is. It's gonna be a Monster Man.
Okay,
Oh,
well we've
Ben.
lost Ben, but he can watch this back.
He's joined
Oh,
back
he's
on.
coming
This
back on.
one's
He's coming back
actually
on. This is what they call great entertainment.
this one's
Uh,
Absolutely.
the
in the
next
This is
one.
why they pay us the big bucks.
yeah, exactly. Ben,
Next
are
one.
you there? Oh, I know this. Ben?
Oh, I put it on his name.
Ben will know who this is. That's the thing. That's why I'm waiting. But I'm not sure if he is
What's his
fully
name?
connected.
Should
So
I should I give the hint for David just before?
you can try.
He signed for Ulster, but never showed up due to injury, and then he signed for I think it was London Irish, and then he went to Munster.
I didn't know that part,
Yeah,
actually.
he
But I
signed.
know the answer.
Yeah,
Because Ben is not responsive at the moment.
Yeah, his
That
name is going to escape me.
that is Arno Bolta.
That's Arnold.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he signed for Ulster and then he got injured, and I think we signed John Diesel as a result of that.
John Dysel, who was at Munster. I
Yeah,
remember.
exactly. Yeah, that was the time that we just like picked non-Irish qualified players from you. Him and
Yeah.
Matherson, who I should have put on as well. Anyway, next one.
Oh, I know this. I want to see if David knows it.
Oh, it's shit. What's his name? It's no. Fuck. I'm bad at
Can
these
I go?
games. Yeah, go for it.
It's Leo Vaha, isn't it?
Yeah, very good. Yeah, 27 caps for Leinster.
Yes.
Kiwi
Former
boy.
Belvo man.
Fucking
I'm good at this.
Yeah, yeah.
you're good at this.
I swear Adam didn't send these on to me. I swear to God.
This is my yeah. This is my secret weakness in pub quizzes as well. I once forgot who Nicki Minaj was just because I get face blind when I'm put on the spot. But you're gonna tell me now
Take you
she played
to
a
a
few
pub quiz.
seasons at Connacht
Yeah,
as
I was
well.
gonna say
What?
the historical figure I found out played for Munster. I wouldn't be surprised. Next.
Yeah, you know.
Oh, that is. I'm going to take a wild guess first of all. Is that Mata Fifita?
Hello,
No.
chaps. I'm very sorry. My dog ate my internet. Hello.
That's all right.
Ben, do you wanna do the last two really quickly?
Yeah,
Yes,
will we go
beautiful
back?
form.
Will we go back?
Oh, that's the good old Arno. Look at him. Isn't he beautiful?
It is Arno Bolton.
Wasn't he beautiful? Look at the lovely empty Tubman Park jersey on him as well. Isn't it class?
That was after the game against Ospreys, I think. And this one, Ben?
Oh, God.
Former AIL man.
Not a notion. Go on.
It's Leo Vaha or Leo Vaha.
What
Leo
jersey
Vaha.
is that also?
That was like a Leinster A type training kit.
I really like that. I must find that in
That's
vintage.
nice.
Sorry. Go on.
Whoa.
We'll go on to the next one. We'll go on to number 5.
This one.
It's not Mata Fifita, no?
Nope.
Oh. Is it Fehu Vainicolo?
No, I've got a name, but I've got I've got he's played rugby league for New Zealand and Samoa. He's also played union for Samoa.
It might be. Fuck it. Anyways, if you don't have a name, I don't know what we're supposed to do. Like,
Henry Fahili.
oh, I don't know who that is.
Henry Fahili. No,
Sorry.
okay.
He built like a tank, that man.
He's got lovely form.
He
He looks like he's about to break into like a play or something. I love. Yeah.
It's one of those that I was just like, wow, he looks massive. Him. Anyway, next one.
Oh, it's not Freddie Pooch. Oh.
Oh, I have food in my mouth. Is that Sabian Guinazu?
Yep, Usabian Gunazu.
Is it? Wow. Well done.
Right.
I love this game
What
because
did
This
he
is
play, like 3
this is
games?
impressive and frightening, Caitlin.
it's frightening considering I was about 14 when he signed.
I'm gonna say, did you ever see him play a game?
Mm.
Apparently he's got 20-ish caps. Something stupid like that.
He was an injury joker the year that I think Damien Vardy got injured.
Yeah.
Is that was the year that you got to the final at Ravenhill, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Um,
Oh,
I think he may have signed the season after, but in the same kit.
that's you. He battered us in the final.
No, I think it
Yes.
could be the year after. I think we wore that kit 2 seasons. The second season wasn't as good. I think.
The next one's two players. It's a bonus point because one of them's turning around.
Is the one on the left Lewis Stevenson?
Ah, come on now.
The
I
one not
swear this
facing the
isn't
camera.
fixed. Oh my God. I don't know who the other guy
Lord.
is. I'm gonna
Like, did you get Stevenson based on balding Ulster lock?
I just had
couldn't
Ulster
tell.
lock.
He's former
One
Exeter
second.
player. Former Exeter player, Louis Stevenson.
Oh yeah.
Who's the one
And is
on
the other
the?
one I was at that game too.
I was
CJ
at this game.
Stander. CJ Stander is in the background, and that's what I'm going with.
Is the other one Sean Doyle?
Not quite.
Is it a back row?
No, it's a second row.
Second row.
Oh. Oh. Is it the Van der Merwe guy that's with the Estonians?
No, no, that's Schalke van der Merwe. He's a prop. But I
No,
thought you thought
he
Franco.
started the year they won the URC or whatever the Rabo at the time. Oh,
Did we win a Rabo? No, I don't think we
won
did.
No, you
one.
got to the final.
You got to the final. Started that year.
Oh, it's not Robbie Dyack. It doesn't have that chiseled chin that Dyack used to have.
This one. I thought I'm gonna put in because I was at this game and we went down with an Ulster C team,
Have you
and
a selfie with him?
I do not, but I do have a photo of Louis Stevenson as a 13-year-old. He was very tall.
Do you want to just give us that one? Because I don't think we're going to get
It's Neil McComb.
it. Yeah. Oh, I remember him.
43
Of course.
caps, 43 caps, and that is Jamember Adam. I hope
That
for
was fun. Did we
Storm.
get a set? Oh yeah, we got two Leinster players. Yeah, sorry, we had
Mhm,
Leo
mhm.
Vaha and Andrew Goodman. That was very fun. I
Yeah.
think we should do that during the November window when we've only one game to discuss, to be entirely honest.
Let's
We
aim
should
it
just
Get,
do it
down.
some weekends when like Munster lose. Just do that
oh
instead.
yeah, I suppose whenever like all four provinces lose, if that ever happens. It never does, but if it does. Right, we've got 2 minutes. Gonna fire through these really quickly. Previews this week. First up, Friday, 7:45, TG Premier Sports, Munster Edinburgh. Ben, how are Munster gonna get on?
Munster will win. Continue on from last week. Give another 9 time. Ideally, JJ comes back. Get lads back in. Ready for Croker.
Okay, Saturday, first of the action, 5:30, only on Premier Sports is Leinster Sharks. David?
Leinster to win. It'll be. I think it should be bonus point win territory, and it should be a wide enough margin. I think we'll see a lot more lines back than we would have expected to this early, but yeah, I think they'll go pretty strong.
Adam, Ulster Bull, 7:45 on Premier as well.
Yeah, an interesting one because we missed out on last week, but I feel like we should get a win here. I feel like this is one of those ones that we have to target as a win. One of the bigger teams that we're going to play against in the league. So hopefully it's going to be a great game either way.
Hopefully. And the last game on TG Car and Premier Sports is Cardiff against Connacht. That is my designated side, and I'm actually going to go out on a limb. I'm going to go with Cardiff. I think they could produce a result. They rested a few players last week. They could well do it. With the postponements last week, our predictions saw all of us go 2-0. We all said Munster and the Bulls to win. So you can thank Leinster for that one. But look, we're all 2-0 for last week. But gentlemen, we'll leave it at that for tonight. My thanks to Quizmaster Adam, to Leinster, David, and to Limerick, Ben. It has been an absolute pleasure. We'll be back next week to cover, hopefully, 4 games of provincial action and get ready for a Interpro at Croke Park. But for now, till next time, slán go fóill.